for a reason. We're all interested in health. I don't care if it's about weight. I don't care if it's about arthritis, diabetes. It's all about health. The first thing I really want to tell you is that that really was me. I know it's hard to believe. I hate to look at that. I don't even know who she is gonna be. But anyway, that was back a few years. Just to give you a little history, I was a fat kid who grew up to be a fatter kid, but coming from a Jewish family, you know the grandmother, she's fat, leave her alone, you know, she'll grow out of it, she's healthy, you got a pretty face, she's gonna be fine. Well, baby, the fat just kept growing, and that's what ended up happening. My mother took me to doctors, not because she wanted to, but my father hated fat. So consequently, whenever there was a new little god around, the new doctor was going to make his fat kid thin. Well, I have to tell you, I just did go on a million diets. The ones that actually worked the best were the ones I went on myself because, you know, we always know the foods that we shouldn't be eating. We are not stupid. But how can we keep off those foods? Those are the things that we're really addicted to. In 1980, I got my PhD. And you come out with all this information, but what do you do with it now? And there was actually no tools out there for what I was doing. So I decided to start calling the laboratories that had supplements. And I said, do you have any questionnaires? I mean, how would somebody find out what they're supposed to take? It was just logic to me. Well, some of them had some questionnaires, but it was just to sell their product, which of course wasn't the right thing to do. So I went and I got a 3-ring notebook, just like some of you saw what I brought in today, one of those big 3-ring notebooks, and I ended up putting questions down. Certain questions relate to certain deficiencies. It doesn't matter who asks them. And I figured I just can't do something half-assed. That's just not right to treat people that way. I mean, I was treated like that all my life. It's got to be done right. So I ended up developing what I call my health test. Can everybody see this? That's good, because I can't. The questions that I ask on these things are very simple. Nobody takes the time to ask anybody any questions. The average time in a medical doctor's office is 7 to 8 minutes at best. Well, you can hardly say, hello, how are you, and what's happening before you get up and you get a prescription. I knew this wasn't the way we needed to find out what people needed. So with knowing that certain questions related to certain deficiencies, I made up the health test, and what I did was find out the different questions I needed that went from vitamin A, B1, B2, B3, and then had another section that had what foods should you eat. Now this is using body language. We all know how we feel. If somebody were to take the time to ask you a question, you know if it's applicable to you or not. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist for this. In any language, if somebody asks a question. Well, nobody asks the question. But eventually, these questionnaires were all put together. I was able to put, I only had a typewriter, no computer at the time. We're talking about 1979, early part of 1980. So what I did is I typed up all these questions, and then I had little lists of what the answers would be, and I eventually put down, and I did everything on a typewriter. Of course, now it got computerized in 1980, and everything was written down according to people, because I knew we could not be treated like one size fits all. Because if you're treated like one size fits all, you're never going to get well. You're going to feel better for a while, you're going to take another drug, but it's not going to be the answer. Well, then I found out if you're low of something, I needed to tell you what that meant. Because if you're low in vitamin A, shouldn't you know what it does to your body? Shouldn't you know what foods to increase? I mean, this is logic. Of course, it comes from somebody who's been fat and had sugar problems and arthritis and everything else. So I was finding out as I was going that there was nothing out there. There was a lot of these books. And then I get some of these medical books, and the words they used, I had to look them up, and even with that, I had to look up some of the words within the words. That's why I think they don't talk to us, because they don't know what they're talking about. If you can't explain something to somebody in English, like I'm talking to you, move on to somebody else that's going to talk to you in English. So eventually, like I say, I ended up putting this all together. People got a diet appraisal from what the questions you ask. Again, nobody knows you like you. You eventually can get a complete report, and this was what I was really interested in doing. We talk about toxins, and we'll talk a lot about that in the class, because that to me is the foundation of all diseases that we have today. And my thing was to let people know that if you don't find out where you're nutrient deficient, and become nutrient sufficient, you're going to be ill. So weight is not an issue of fat, it's an issue of health. Arthritis isn't an issue of pain, it's an issue of health. There's only a few reasons why we get sick. One, because we're toxic in our bodies. We don't drink enough water. Most people are dehydrated. The hardest thing I have people to do is to drink enough water. It's like I'm asking them to drink some poison. Well, yeah, but I have coffee, I have tea, I drink this and I drink this, and it's diet this. Well, we'll get into that in the class in a big way. You'll learn a lot about that. But water is really necessary. Everybody's interested in anti-aging. If I was to have a seminar and put anti-aging up there, this room would have been full. Because everybody thinks there's got to be something in one bottle that I know. And I said, I don't tell my age and I don't do anything, and I do anti-aging every day on me. I want to live the best life I can, but what is anti-aging? Keeping your cells and keeping yourself nutrient sufficient. And that's health insurance as far as I'm concerned. So what I wanted to do is make sure that everybody was individually treated, and this was the beginning. Later on, of course, I got into laboratory work, and they call me the health investigator because nobody does the kind of laboratory work that I do. And unfortunately, a lot of doctors can't even read it, and they don't even know why I do it all. But this community, I've never seen so many people with so many drugs given to them. I've seen more women given Prozac, and they've got Candida. You know, they're not crazy. You know, they're feeling bad because they keep going to the doctor and they don't get them well. And every time you take a drug, you're putting more toxicity into your body, and a drug has one effect, you're going to get another effect. These things stay in. Nobody tells you to detox your body. Nobody tells you what to eat along with the condition that you may have. So it's really, it's an education and having an opportunity of taking some responsibility for your own health. And I'm not anti-medicine, I'm not anti-surgery, I'm not anti any of those things. What I am is upset when people are given drugs, particularly women, just to make them feel better rather than dealing with the cause. You can't continue dealing with symptoms and not deal with the cause, and the cause is found out on a cellular level. So I guess when you've been through what I've been through, you do it a little bit different and you're a little more intense about it and have a lot more passion. I probably spend, and you can ask any of the patients, I have at least an hour and a half, even with each visit, follow-up visit with patients. I mean, how are you going to get to know them and help them change their lifestyle? And health has to be taught. We weren't taught. The second reason we talked about toxicity and a little bit about dehydration, but we haven't yet talked about lifestyle. You know, I hear so many people say, well, you know, everybody in my family had heart disease, so I probably will too. Well, what a terrible thing to prophesy to yourself. My gosh, you know, that's scary. You don't have to have these things. Now, if you eat the way your parents did and you live the way they live, absolutely. You know you're going to get something and it's going to be bad. Because 30, 40 years ago, the food chain wasn't as adulterated as now. I mean, you never saw kids. Even when I went to school and I was a fat kid, there wasn't a lot of fat kids in school. You didn't hear about any kids having heart disease. You didn't hear about kids having arthritis. It's epidemic now. I got people in LA, I mean, calling from all over that their kids are this, the doctor thinks they have sugar. Of course, they don't do enough testing to find out if they really have sugar or where it's at. But we're talking about kids in public school and early high school. I got one of my patients' daughters, they're divorced, 20 years old, on Prozac. She's at Berkeley College. On Prozac and something for sugar. So I said, could I please have your lab work? I want to see what's been done. So I don't have any lab work. I said, no. I thought she didn't understand. I said, your doctor drew some blood or sent you to a lab to have some laboratory work done. She says, no, Dr. Henry, he didn't. 20 years old? I mean, hello, the father's paranoid, you know, because his kid and the mother's letting her take this. And, but we're seeing this all over. So I guess this is part of what my passion is, because I figure if I can teach enough, in particular women, some of these things, they can get to their kids or their grandkids, and maybe we can touch a few more people. I think women's issues are not being talked about. I don't think women have a safe environment to talk to women about. You can't be fat if you're not nutrient deficient. You need to eat. Food is important. You just need to eat the right amount of food and eat often enough. And I give people advice, I can't eat all that. Because we come from deprivation. We always think diets. And that's why the first three letters of the word diet are D-I-E. I don't know anybody who's been successful at it. If any of you do, I'm open. But it's not a very happy state of affairs. So I want people to find life, and that's why the name of my company is called The Health Experience. It's a concept of life and living, which I hope that you all have for yourself. What your concept is and what you want to achieve for your life is part of health. You can't be energetic. You can't get up and do the things that you want to do if you're tired, you're not feeling well, you're lethargic, you're moody, you're going through PMS or perimenopause or menopause. Nobody has to walk around having hot flashes. What is this? You know, one day somebody said to me, well, do you have hot flashes? I said, no, I've never had anything that exciting happen to me. And look at, I ate a whole lot of junk in my life. So these aren't things that you have to do. I mean, I talked for years to people about, you know, you really need to talk to your doctor about getting on bioidentical natural hormones. You don't need to do this. You need to change your food program because you're aggravating your system and bringing it on yourself. Do you know in the Orient, they don't have a word for menopause? I mean, what does that say about us? But look at the way they eat and the way we eat and how the foods are so adulterated. So these are things that don't have to be, but these are the things, if you have a food addiction, make you want to eat more. So you're not nuts because you haven't been successful at a program you've been on. Until your body is balanced, you're going to have those cravings. And I know, because been there, done that. There's not too many people out there practicing, although my whole practice isn't weight. Of course, I get a lot of referrals all over the United States because I've been there. When you've been there, and I'm pretty transparent about where I am, you'll hear from a couple of gals who, you know, been in my class. I just say it the way it is. You want to ask a question, you can ask it. Women out there need to have help, whether it be here or Los Angeles or Denver or whatever it is. We all have issues. Some the same, some a little different. But I believe it's time that we got together and started helping each other. And I learn as much from doing classes as anybody because I'm hearing new things and I'm getting educated because everybody has, their lifestyle is a little bit different, their background, how they eat, they come in with a new recipe, and we have a lot of fun. And that's what it should be about, fun. This shouldn't be where you're coming in at school. This isn't, I am not the star here. I'm just facilitating. I want you all to be the star. I want you to get the results that you want for you. And each of you know, some people say, well, gee, I need to lose 10 pounds. I didn't have any weight problems until I went into menopause and I started taking hormones. Well, yeah, if they're giving you something that a horse takes, and it's from a horse, have you ever seen a horse that was less than 300 or 400 or 500 pounds? I don't think so. So again, it's not your fault. If you're going to eat food that has hormones in it, you can't kill the cow and then eat it and think, the hormones got disappeared somewhere. I mean, you have to think about this, but once it's brought to your attention, it makes sense to you. So it's just a matter of changing some things around and making sure that you're eating and getting yourself nutrient sufficient, and that's part of what we're going to do here. The other thing is most people buy supplements, they don't know how to buy them. They hear from their friend or somebody who's, you know, from 9 to 5 they're a bookkeeper, from 5 to 11 they're a nutrition guru, telling you, wow, doctors say this is the best. Everything is the best. There's nothing the best. What is good is having to be balanced. And most things that are multi-level, you just get in the store, you don't know what you're getting. What you think you're getting, you're not always getting. And nutrients are synergistic, which means they have to work together. We're going to talk a little bit about exercise. Nobody likes to exercise, I know it. Me too. But we have to do a little, and we'll have it fun. I mean, if I could get a whole dance class together, that would be really fun because I like to dance. So that would be fun for me. I think it's important that you learn how to shop. Most people don't know how to shop in the stores or what to shop for. We're going to do a lot of talking about that. Because you can buy healthy things. You know, if I never saw you after tonight, you could walk, just shop the circumference of the store, you'll do better than you're doing now. And if you can't, you notice that they put a lot of chips and stuff and junk where there's dog and cat food. Go to the pet store and buy. Keep away from those things for a while.